Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 13 of Avengers Assemble, called In Deep. Now this is a very plot-heavy episode, so in terms of characterization and whatnot, there's really not a lot for me to chew on this time around. But that didn't mean that I didn't like this episode. In fact, it's one of my favorites of the series so far, simply because it was a really fun episode. There was a really great twist. There were some nice little character moments and some really nice action. And considering that this is basically a kind of a Disney XD cartoon where we have to sort of resign ourselves to the fact that they're not going to go too deep in terms of characterization, this is still pretty darn good stuff. Now, first of all, the biggest thing is that I was completely surprised when it turned out that Grim Reaper and Crossbones were actually Cap and Tony. I didn't see it coming, but in retrospect, it made perfect sense. Red Skull even noted that they were asking very, very smart questions for guys who generally have a reputation as being just sort of more, well, I don't know if exactly, well, thug is a pretty good description of Crossbones. Grim Reaper's a little bit harder to pin down, but he's never been, at least in my mind, portrayed as, somebody who's a very, no, he's not really a strategist, I guess is the good way to put it. But they are both very, in the comics, they're villains that should be taken seriously. Grim Reaper has some very personal connections to the Avengers. He's actually Wonder Man's brother. And Crossbones actually killed Captain America in the comics. He's the guy who successfully assassinated Captain America. Now, granted, Captain America was brought back from the dead about a year later, but still, the actual guy who killed him was Crossbones. So, yeah, there is that. So it was pretty interesting to see that of all people, Cap was the guy who takes on the Crossbones uniform. Of course, Crossbones was a long-established Captain America villain, so yeah. Another thing I liked is how we get to see this episode that the standard Avengers bickering with each other almost as much as they spend as much time arguing with each other as they spend fighting the bad guys is still in full force. It leads us to, ultimately the nice little character moment for Captain America and Tony at the end that, well, it's nice. It's certainly well written and it's reasonably well executed. Tony says, "Oh, I've realized that sometimes it's okay to have a plan," and Cap is like, "Well, I've realized sometimes it's okay to go with your gut." The problem is that it's just trite as all hell. I mean, come on, did anybody think that there wasn't going to be a moment like that, or that Cap and Tony wouldn't learn a lesson from working together like this? Like, shouldn't these guys have already figured this out already? Yeah. But it was certainly interesting to see sort of the villainous version of that, with Atuma and Red Skull and MODOK constantly jockeying for position, trying to keep their suspicions and hatred and lust for power under control long enough to actually accomplish something, and then ultimately failing. And even when Red Skull realizes what the two of them are doing and points it out to MODOK and Atuma, they still can't let it go. And this is totally, totally in character for all of these villains. And it's really what I think really made this episode. And it also, of course, shows us the parallel between the Cabal and the Avengers. I'm having to restrain myself from calling the Cabal the masters of evil, but there you go. But again, it's that constant internal conflict. Constantly trying to accomplish something important, but bickering with each other the whole entire way. And we've seen that both the heroic and the villainous version of this episode. And that was really quite cool. Also, I really did like that little speech that Cap gave, telling Tony Stark, even without your armor, you're still Tony Stark, one of the smartest men in the world. Although this actually seems kind of a flip from that conversation that Cap and Tony had in the Avengers movie, where Tony's like, he says to Bruce Banner, where Bruce Banner gets on his case and is like, without your armor, what are you? And Tony just goes, billionaire playboy genius. And then there's that other scene where he kind of yells at Cap and tells him that everything that's special about you came out of a bottle. And here we see that completely turned on its head. And definitely give Hawkeye some points for that Captain America impression. I was really pretty darn amused by that. That is absolutely the kind of thing that Hawkeye totally would do. He and Cap do genuinely respect each other a great deal, especially if you pay attention to their relationship in the comics. But Hawkeye is a guy who does not believe in sacred cows and is really willing to not hold anything back for any reason. And that's part of what makes him a great character. So I definitely did get a big chuckle out of that. Anyway, be interesting to see how the Cabal bounces back from this little misadventure. I'm pretty sure we haven't seen the last of them. After all, Dracula's still out there, and who knows what else these guys are going to eventually cook up before the season finale. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you this time. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.